Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of To The Point podcast. Hope everybody's doing well on a beautiful Friday as we head into the weekend. Lots happening in the world of sports. We got the U.S. Open in golf this weekend. We got the NHL in full swing. My guest today's favorite sport, the NBA. A couple game sevens potentially on the horizon. But no, we're here on a Friday. It's a nice day, and I said it's been a few weeks. We got to get Casey Ward back on the show, especially with his Yankees riding a three-game sweep of the Toronto Blue Jays. So, Casey, how are things in your world? And obviously, you got to be excited with the play of your Yankees.
Yeah, for sure. It's good to be back on. No, I appreciate the invite. Always nice to come jump on talk sports. It's been, the sports world's been great for me last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
Came on here, predicted the Habs would take down the old
you
Maple
did.
Leafs. Just
Yeah.
trigger warning for all those Leafs fans out there. And then on top of that, my Yanks just lay a beating on the friggin' Blue Jays. So we're off to a good week in the U.S. Open this weekend. So it's looking great. How about yourself?
Yeah, no, life's good. Like you said, the world sports has been great. This time last year, you could hardly get a sporting event on, and now there's too much for me to watch. I'm like, got the computer going, I got the TV, I'm like flipping back and forth, with the golf, I love that it's in San Diego because you get golf till 11, like 12 o'clock last night. I love that. I
Yeah.
love the late night making putts, but yeah, you're. We'll start today with some baseball, and your Yankees sweep the Blue Jays. First two games of the series, both one-run games where they win the game off pinch hit home runs. Gary Sanchez with a key two-run shot, and then the Blue Jays bullpen has just been a disaster this in the past month or so. But your Yankees are starting to get healthy. Giancarlo has been hitting the ball well. The starting pitching, it is what it is, but the Yankees have one of the best bullpens in baseball. So they're behind the Red Sox and the Rays right now, but with Glasnow's injury, the Rays they're on a slide. How do you feel about your Yankees overall about almost halfway into the season?
Well, that's the thing with the Rays. Like Glass now going down is huge, so they're losing the big guy in their rotation. So if Garrett Cole, we can get Kluber back, he'd be a big pitcher back, big arm back in the rotation. And I've been liking Gurman and
Yeah,
Talon. They've been
yeah.
pitching pretty consistent. One thing I didn't like about last night was uh, who's a closer they called in last night. I can't remember his
Oh,
name.
Zach Britton.
Yeah, he was having some tough times finding the strike zone, but
Yeah,
he's got to work out the kinks. I guess he had bone chips, I think, removed, right? So
yeah, he did. Yeah, he had pretty serious surgery. So
yeah, no, it's I know from when we talked previously, like the Yanks were really struggling, and I was just down and out on them. I wasn't really supporting. I was kind of a shadow fan, but
yeah.
uh, now that I have a little bit more time, I'm watching a little bit more games, seeing, um, like you were saying, Stanton's been hitting the ball well. He's been going a lot opposite field. He hit a home run opposite field last night. The night before, he was going opposite field as well, line drives. So you can't complain when you see that. Plus, I've been seeing Urshela. He's been playing pretty well, so can't complain.
No, yeah, they Judge has been solid all year. I think he's actually hitting over 300, which is crazy for him because he's a strikeout king. But he's hitting the ball well. Like you said, Stanton. I like you. I really like Gio Urshela. I think he's a really good in the field, and his bat isn't what it was last year, but he's still hitting 270. He almost hit two dingers last night. So I mean, he's got. I think he had 5 RBI last night. So he had a game last night, but I look one thing I think they need to improve is their outfield. I love Brett Gardner. He's a great Yankee. But his arm is like mine. And it's my arm. I've never played baseball, so I could probably maybe throw it to third. Like I could will it in there. I don't know. When I see him throw, it's always a one hopper or I he's a good guy to have on the bench, but adding a real legitimate left fielder, I don't think Clint Frazier's that guy. I think adding a legitimate left fielder would be a big add to this already good team.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like Brett Gardner is, he had a good career.
Mm-hmm.
He's done it for the Yanks for a long time, and I think now they're just trying to keep him along, just as a goodwill. I don't know.
Right. Kind of like Pedroia in with Boston.
Yeah. Kind of like it's the same thing with Jeter and the Yanks too when he was on his way out.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of him because he's been there for so long, and you feel like you owe him a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But at some point, you're going to need someone to get over the hump. Like I've been watching these Yanks for a long time, and every damn season when we get to the postseason, Wardo goes in the hole. So we got to get something to get us over the hump. And I don't know if it's a left fielder. I don't know if it's a second baseman. I don't know what it is. I don't know. It could be a bullpen. So
yeah, I'll throw a name out there for you. This guy probably wouldn't play left field, but they can move some guys around because they got some versatility out there. Charlie Blackmon of the Colorado Rockies. He's a good bat. He's solid in the field, and the Rockies stink. They're not going to be making the playoffs. I think they'll sell. Like Trevor Story could be a tradable asset for them too. But he can put a bat lead off too for them. So he'd be an interesting ad for the Yankees, and they're not afraid to spend the money either.
Yeah, no, the Yanks have no problem spending cash. That's for sure. Blackmon would be a nice addition. Yeah, I never even thought about adding a piece like that. I was kind of thinking, I don't know. I always feel like the Yanks always try to load up their bullpen for some reason. Like and I don't know. Like it's tough to say with what's going on in the MLB right now with the foreign substance. So I don't know. Like the boys could be getting some suspensions going here. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's a sticky situation for Cole, especially after that pretty awful interview we had where he yeah, that was pretty rough.
Yeah, that was for people that haven't heard it, go back and listen to that one because he gets asked directly if he's using foreign substances, and he basically says, well, things are passed down from generation to generation, and who's to say? And I'm like, just say you do. Like you might as well. You sound like an idiot, but you know he's obviously one of the best pitchers in baseball, but. Yeah, I think adding a left fielder, another starting pitcher would be good. This might send a horror show back into you, but he was okay as a Yankee. I think could be available. Sonny Gray, maybe he makes a return. Okay. He wasn't a bad Yankee.
No, he wasn't. He's not been having a bad year either.
No.
So, I mean, we'll take all the help we can get.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got we're back a few games, so we got some room to make up. So it's definitely important that Yankees try and stay hot for now.
Yeah, on the other side of the coin, the Blue Jays. Obviously, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is having an incredible season. I mean, him and Tatis have both been just. They both have 22 home runs. I mean, they're the whole show. But the Blue Jays have 22 losses this season when they were leading in the 7th inning. That is an incredible stat. Just shows how terrible their bullpen is. But their starting pitching isn't great. It isn't terrible, but it's not great. Their bullpen, as a Yankee fan, are you scared of the Blue Jays? Are they a legitimate threat, or are they on the back burner for you?
For myself, I think they're on the back burner for me. It's just like from the sample size that I've seen the past 3 nights. I've watched, I haven't watched full games, but I've watched a good amount of each game. Mm-hmm. And just like the body language and the persona that some of these guys in the Blue Jays dugout give out when they're in the field, when they know they got to go back out to the field, play their position, and their pitcher's going to just get peppered. So it's tough. Like you watch Bichette and you watch Biggio, Grichuk, Glad Jr. They all have great attributes, especially offensively, but it's just, you can see when they have to go back out to the field, they know that they're in for a long inning because their pitching is getting, at this point, it's like tough to watch for some games, right? So,
yeah, I mean, poor Charlie Montoyo, because he's sitting there basically telling the media day after day, what do you want me to do? I can't. And like the other night, he keeps tripling in for 101 pitches, and I don't blame him. He gave up Sanchez homered off him, but you don't trust anybody in that bullpen. Other than Romano, there's really Chatwood is a disaster. He can't hit a strike zone. If his life depended on it. You got Trent Thornton, who's they're throwing guys, left Castro threw a third of an inning last night, gave up 5 hits, 3 earned, just a disaster for him. But, Montoya's taking all the heat, but the GM's got to give him better talent in the bullpen. And that's got to come sooner than later if this team wants to legitimately compete for a playoff spot.
Yeah, no, and it's like the flip around, right? From when 2015, 2016, when the Blue Jays were the team to come out of this division. Like during those years, like I was frustrated because I thought the Yanks were just always so much better than every team, and they could spend the money to get to be the better teams. But the Jays, seem to be on that downhill swing, and I don't know what it's going to take for them to kind of bounce out of it, because these guys, like the young guys that they have, they're going to be young stars in the league. So I don't know if it's going to take a whole remastering and revamping of the bullpen and pitchers, but it's not very pretty in Toronto right now.
No, 2 losses by a run and losing, getting beat up a little bit, 8-4 last night. Good news for the Blue Jays is they have the Baltimore Orioles this weekend. So that's always a welcome sight to see the Orioles coming to town. The only thing better would be playing the Diamondbacks, who have lost 23 straight road games. I don't know how the hell that's even possible, but they just beyond pathetic down there in Arizona. As a whole this year, Case, what team has been the most surprising to you and most disappointing? Surprising obviously in a positive note, and then disappointing, the latter.
Well, the team that I would say least surprised me is the Rays. Yeah. It seems like every goddamn year, they seem to figure out a way to win games, and they end up taking up the division for a majority part of the year. So at some point, I'm going to expect them to be there every year, but it's just like, I keep thinking it's going to be the Yankees, the Red Sox. It's like, I feel like it's going to be a tight race every year, and it's just always Tampa Bay just blows them out of the water.
Yeah, they trade Blake Snell, who's won a Cy Young, and like you said, they're first place. They traded Willie Adames, their shortstop. They have the second lowest payroll in baseball. They have the third best record. It's crazy what they can do down there with, guys. You look at their lineup, you're like, who the hell is that? Who's Austin Meadows and G-Man Choi and all these, but they just find a way to win. And I think the Glasnow injury will really tell us a lot about this Rays team. I mean, he's a really, really good pitcher, and it sounds more and more like he's going to need Tommy John surgery.
Jeez.
So that's a year plus of an injury. I mean, that he may never be the same guy, but the team, can they win the division now? And I'll jump on your team. I thought the Red Sox would be better, but I thought the Yankees would be better than them. I thought the Blue Jays would be better than them for sure. And they just keep winning. They traded Mookie Betts, which will always look like a bad trade because Mookie Betts went on to LA to win a World Series and he was a stud. But Alex Verdugo, he's a good prospect for them. He's a solid bat. He's good in the field. JD Martinez has found his game again. Hunter Renfroe, a guy who was in Tampa, he's got a solid bat. And they, their pitching isn't great, but they outscore their opponents a lot, and they just find ways to win. I'm surprised that they're this good at this point of the year.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. One of the, it's so funny because when we're talking about the Rays, just last weekend, I was in a golf tournament and I got a Yankees ball marker for the greens, just keep it classy.
Yeah.
And this guy says, "Oh my God, I hate the Yankees." I'm like, okay, well, good for you, he says, "Yeah, the only team I hate more than the Yankees, I think, is the Rays." I'm like, what? Like, you hate the Rays?
Yeah.
That's what my buddy said. He's like, no one hates the Rays. The Rays are like no one even knows who's on the Rays.
Yeah.
Like, how can you hate them? But another team that I like just to watch every now and again is I like to throw on the Dodgers if they're ever late night games, especially if they're playing against San Diego.
Yeah. Dodgers, San Diego, actually series starts Monday between those two teams. And that's must-see TV with Tatis and Bauer, and I agree. The Dodgers are fun to watch. I love watching the San Diego game myself. With Tatis is the most. I think he's the funnest athlete in baseball, and he's just his attitude and what he brings to the table. I love watching him. In that division case, San Francisco, like what the hell? Like they just they swept the Dodgers a few weeks ago. I was like, what? They have basically the same lineup minus Mad Bum that they were winning all the World Series. Buster Posey's still there. Crawford. They got Evan Longoria, who I thought it was Cook 3 years ago. He's there. Brandon Belt. And they're first in the NL West over the Dodgers and the Padres. It's crazy what they're doing.
Oh my God, I know. And I think a lot of it comes down to they've had some real good nights with the pitching. Like John Means has been kind of dealing a lot of good games. So I don't know. It's like, it's tough. Like you never know. Like you see these guys that have these huge payrolls and these young teams that are full of stars, but it's always these old experienced guys that get their way through and know their way around the block, especially all these guys. They've been around and they've won a few World Series, especially with the Giants not leaving. So it's interesting to see. And I know when the Giants swept the Dodgers, I was fired up because I got a few Dodgers in my fantasy league, and they didn't perform very well, so I was fired right up.
Is our friend Seamus Fillmore in that fantasy league?
Yeah, he's commish actually. So it's commish. Yeah, it's pretty questionable league. Some of the scoring, I don't know. His pitchers always have 50 points a week, so I don't know. It's kind of questionable.
Yeah, it's kind of like his golf game. It's a little questionable. The
fluff. Lots of improved lies.
Yeah, it's like Patrick Reed out there. How about most disappointing team in baseball so far?
Well, like I don't really have many disappointing aspects of baseball. It's just I was really upset with the way the Yanks were performing at the start of the year, but now it's kind of we can see if they can kind of get on the uphill swing.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the Atlanta Braves for me. They got some bad luck with Mike Soroka, the Canadian pitcher who tore his Achilles last year and has a setback. He might not even pitch this year, which I feel terrible for him because he was third in NL Cy Young voting just 2 years ago. But he's hurt, but their bats have gone cold. Their pitching is a disaster. Charlie Morton hasn't worked moving from Tampa. Ian Anderson, who had a great rookie year, hasn't been the same pitcher. And that whole division is really strange because the Mets are leading it, but you got the Phillies who haven't been very good. The Nationals aren't very good. And in Atlanta, whoever wins that division is just going to be who isn't that terrible, basically, the way it looks right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. That also kind of reminds me, I guess, of one player that has been really, I say, lackluster and very upsetting for me is what's his name? Steven Strasburg from the Nationals. When he was in the finals there, like he was electric to watch. Like I thought him and Scherzer, I thought they were like unreal. Like to just watch them go at it twice in the World Series because they went game 1, 2, and then 6, 7, right? So it's wicked to watch, but now you can kind of see he's kind of starting to get plagued by injuries, and how is he going to come back from these? And it's tough when the pitcher starts experiencing injuries because you never know how long it's going to last, right?
Yeah, for him, he had such an injury history, and it was crazy that he got through that postseason and he could pitch that much. But maybe, like you're saying, the toll of that World Series and what it took to win is taking it out on him now. And I think he's only pitched like 15 innings this year. And he's always on the IL. So hopefully the Nationals are sinking too. I could see Scherzer. I think that'd be a big trade. But if a team wanted to make a move, I think he'll be available come the trade deadline, and I'm sure he'll be an attractive asset for a lot of teams out there.
Yeah, no, I think if someone could land him, that's a blockbuster trade. And if you really want to go all in and move the chips all in, so to speak, then he would be your piece to go after. I would say it almost seemed like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean he's an ace. You add an ace to your staff. It's like Houston, the year. No, that's probably not a good reminder for you, but the year they added Verlander, he wasn't hearing the pots and pans when they were banging them. He's just throwing pitches. But you had a guy of that caliber. I don't care how old he is or the back nine of his career. Scherzer can still pitch. I mean, you watch him. I don't think anybody wants to win more. The way he gives it his all when he's throwing. You can just tell. And he'd be a good ad for a lot of teams in Major League Baseball. Let's pivot to golf, where the U.S. Open started yesterday, and they're playing it at Torrey Pines in San Diego, and it's a tough course. The U.S. Open, yeah, it's pretty nasty. Just watching some of Phil's putts yesterday, where they should go in, but they just rattle out. I mean, I could see just how frustrating that would be. But it's a tough. U.S. Open always makes it tough, and I like the U.S. Open because it's going to be low scoring. You see the Masters, other tournaments, it's kind of like, okay, who can get to 20 under first? I think this weekend it's going to be 10 under or less. I think the winner, myself. But you look at the top of the leaderboard, Russell Henley, not exactly a brand name.
Yeah.
Louis Oosthuizen, who finished tied for second at the PGA. He's always sniffing around there, little Louis. He can hit the fairway. I'll give him that. You got Rafa Cabrera Bello. You got Francisco Molinari, which I hadn't had a sighting from him since he melted at the Masters when Tiger beat him. Yeah. But after day one, and a few guys haven't been able to finish because of darkness last night, what do you make of the course as an avid golfer?
Well, leading up to the tournament, I've watched a few kind of things behind the scenes on Torrey Pines, and that course looks like it's pretty nasty. Yeah. Like, I've seen a few videos of the rough, and like, if you're in that thick stuff, like, good luck trying to make a score. And like, one of the things that I noticed last night, I watched two groups mainly, was DeChambeau, and Matsuyama, and Strafacci.
Yeah.
And then DJ, Rory, and Justin Rose.
Right.
I watched those two groups pretty close last night, and there was one shot that Strafacci had. It was a chip shot out of the rough to the green, and he had to land it, I would say, probably about 2 feet on the green, because the balls just roll on the greens. There's like, I don't know if it's like a piece of glass, like when you put on that, but it's like the greens are just so nasty. And I think honestly, that's one of my favorite things about a major event, especially the US Open, is that that the greens are going to be just outrageous, especially come Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. And they make it even tougher with the pin location, and it only gets more difficult as the days go by. But you mentioned the rough and hitting out of there. So as a golfer, is it more about having strength to get it out of there, or like just your timing, or what I haven't swung a golf club in my life, but I love the sport. What's the best way to get it out of there effectively? Just for me as a novice here.
Well, for me, it kind of just depends, like, what you can do with the shot, right? Like, I was in a 2-man last weekend, and one of my buddies hit a ball to like 6 feet, or not 6 feet, 15 feet for a par putt. And this was on a real tucked pin, and we were in the rough. I didn't really have any other shots other than to kind of hit a flop shot like Phil.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up hitting it to probably 6 or 7 feet, but that was literally the only shot I could hit out of the rough from there. So it just depends on like where you're laying. Like, I know if you kind of catch the ball clean, then it's going to come out real fast. But if you don't hit the ball first, then you're going to need some muscle to get it out of there for sure.
Right. So that's kind of what DeChambeau did last year. It's kind of how he won, because that rough was so terrible last year at the U.S. Open. He kind of battled his way through it. But looking at some other, Brooks shot 2 under. He had a pretty solid day. I mean, if you shoot 2 under after the first round, you're right there. You mentioned Hideki Matsuyama. He's had a good year, winning the Masters. He was in contention at the PGA. He's really making a name for himself. You got John Rahm at 2 under, and Schauffele. Schauffele, he missed a cut at the PGA, but he's a major guy. He's always in contention. For me, of those guys' case, I look at John Rahm. He had to pull out of the Memorial, which I didn't love. I thought he should be able to finish, but nevertheless, he always shoots bad on the first day of a major. I don't know if you noticed that. He's always like 3 over, and then he'll battle back and make the cut, but he doesn't have enough time to really get in contention. I think it's huge that he's 2 under. 2 strokes out of the lead. He needed this to start a major, and he's bound to win one, and maybe because he's had such a good start, it's going to be his weekend for old John Rahm.
Yeah, I have a couple of names written down. I wanted to see how they were going to make out through their first day, and that's one thing I noticed as well is Rahm. If he can put himself in a really good position to kind of get himself through to Saturday and Sunday, and he doesn't have to make up very many shots, then I think this could be a weekend for the Spaniard. So who else would you have as someone else to like? Who are your favorites for this weekend?
Yeah, I liked Brooks before the tournament because of the whole DeChambeau angle. I think he really wants to win it, just to stick it in his face. And I also think he's a little pissed off that he lost the PGA. Phil winning is a great story, but on the other side of that coin is Brooks really melting. He should have won the PGA, and I think he knows that. So he was a favorite for me. I like Schauffele personally as a player. I do not trust him to win a major because he just blows it. But my long shot picks, I kind of like Dan Berger. He shot even par yesterday. Like it's just a long shot. If I was a bettor, he's a good golfer, and a guy I really like too had a tough day yesterday was Victor Hovland. He shot 3 over, so he's probably out of it. But I think Dan Berger, maybe he could sniff around. If he has a good day today, maybe he could be in one of the final groups come Sunday. How about you?
Well, yeah, that's Dan Berger. That's a good pick. I seen him pretty low there in the scoring, so I never thought to mention him. But some of the guys that I'm looking to see how they finish today and into tomorrow is Brooks. I'd like to see. I'm with you, and I listened to the pod this week. You mentioned how they dropped the ball, and they should have had that marquee matchup. In my opinion, I don't know if it's true that they called them.
That'd be something if they did.
And they were like, "Hey, do you want to golf with Brooks?" And he's like, "Yeah, no, listen, not a chance.
Yeah.
Even if it's on Sunday, last group, not a chance."
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just you got to put them together because it's going to grow the game, right? So
exactly, it's great for the game.
But couple guys that I liked that had good days yesterday was Brooks. I liked Rahm's performance as well, and a surprising 1 under from Rory McIlroy.
Yeah.
I was watching that group, and he was definitely struggling, and it looked like he was kind of whacking it all around. So to get out of there 1 under is a big day. So
it seemed like it was really an advantage to play at night. At least I found anyway, because you had a lot of even pars at night, but you had Louis shot 4 under. You had Molinari shot early in the day, but Cantlay shot 1 under last night. Hideki, like you said, Xander. Do you think there's an advantage either way? I mean, I guess it started the day with a weather delay, but do you have a preference? Do you like playing early in the morning?
Well, that's a good question because like during the week I play like after supper time, so right. 6:00, and during the weekends I prefer to get out around 7:30 or 8 in the morning so that I have the rest of my day, right? So
right.
I have noticed that in the evening, especially if it's warmer, the ball flies a little bit further. So maybe that's a nicer thing maybe about playing a little bit in the later groups in the later rounds, because you have a little bit more heat in the air, a little ball carries a little bit more, rolls out a little bit. So
yeah, no, that's interesting. You also got DJ shot even par yesterday. So he missed the cut the first 2 majors of the year. So it'd be good to see him make one. We mentioned Bryson. He had a tough go last night. He rebounded late and got a birdie. I think on 17 he birdied. but 2 over. I mean, he's not out of it, but because I think, like we said, the scores are not going to be very, high or, low in golf's case, but him and your boy Justin Thomas both at 2 over. What'd you make of JT's start to the Open?
Yeah, JT was struggling. He few too many bogeys for my liking, but seems like he's hitting the ball not too well. Well, not too bad, I should say. I watched a few of his clips. I didn't have a chance to watch his round live, so I just kind of watched a few of the highlights, and like he just missing putts. He's getting there, but it's just not going. Putts aren't dropping, right? So it's hard to make good scores when that's not the ball's not going in the hole.
Yeah, those greens are tough. I mean, Phil had a few yesterday where you're like, yeah, that's a gimme, and it rims out. I think Lee Westwood had a putt that it looked like it was just money, and it leaked out. You could see him. He wanted to smash that club. He shot 2 over. Some guys with high scores but are good players, and I want to ask you, who do you think has the best chance to kind of turn it around, make the cut, and potentially, have a shot at winning this weekend after a high score in the first day? And I'll run through some names for you. Victor Hovland, 3 over. Tony Finau, 3 over. Morikawa, 4 over. Phil, 4 over. And I also included Will Zalatoris at 4 over. Spieth was 6. I didn't want to include 6 over. He's trunk slamming. But any of those guys, you think, who is the best chance at this course of kind of turning around and maybe making a cut and potentially being in the mix this weekend?
Well, I have one of the guys that I like in that group there is Morikawa. Yeah. I like him. His second shot and his long iron game is phenomenal. And 2 guys that I have not on that list that I think might have a good chance if they can kind of turn it around.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, I got him here for you. It's former U.S. Open champion Gary Woodland.
Oh, Jerry.
Yeah. I think if Gary can put that little stinger in play, let the ball run a little bit through that fairway,
Yeah.
That's I think he might have a chance. He's only 3 over, 2 shot of 74 yesterday, so he's not like he's out of it. So, yeah. And my last guy, he's a Euro. It's I know I went across the river for this one. So we got Tommy Fleetwood.
Oh, the Fleetwood. Yeah.
Yeah, we got him. He's only 1 over, 1 over, so he's not out of it then by any means, and he's consistently striking the ball pretty well. So just a matter of getting putts to fall. Yeah,
Fleetwood's always a good major player. He kind of plays on a European tour a lot, so you don't see him a lot at events, but he's at the Masters. He's always there, and he's a good pick for majors. I like him a lot. I look at this group. I agree that Morikawa is 4 over, but he's not the biggest power hitter. But we look at the top of the leaderboard. Ostazen does not smash the ball. Get it on the fairway. That's the most important thing, and you can play from there. Henley, Rafa Cabrera Bello. These are Spaniard little skinny guys. They're not, DeChambos. Francisco Molinari, definitely not a masher by any means. So I think I agree with you, Morikawa. And I think Phil is going to miss the cut, unfortunately, but he won the PGA. So he's already, done this year.
Yeah.
Zalatoris, potentially. I'd like to see him. I just like the kid. I like watching him play. I don't know how he hits it so far when he looks like he's about 6'5", 125 pounds, but he's a fun kid to watch too. But I think it's going to be I hope for just a good weekend. I hope we see a lot of good players mixed together, and just a leaderboard on Sunday that's close together is all I really can ask for at a major.
Yeah, I would like to see this kind of major kind of sneak back up to maybe the USGA kind of firms the greens up, and kind of takes the scoring out of play and kind of gives these guys a little harder bit of a time than they're going to have. I'd like to see this kind of finish closer to par or plus. So that's when you know it's a good major, right? The course is playing tough and the conditions are hard, and it's just, you know, if you can survive the 4-day mental grind of playing in a tournament, then, you know, all the power to you, and I think you should be rewarded. So,
Knowing your game, what do you think you'd shoot at this course from the tips?
not very well. We're playing we're playing at about 11 and a half, 12 handicap right now. So playing at a 70, playing at a par 71 in my course. Torrey Pines is a par 71. Mm-hmm. I predict probably high 90s.
Right.
My course is, I'm consistently in the 80s. It's like I can have an off game and I can still find a way to break 90. So I don't know. It's tough with the harder courses and stuff. It's tough to say. My course is so flat. It's like, you know, I could walk off the edge of the earth and I would be right there. So these courses with these big undulations and these big slopes and everything is tough.
Yeah, but I think on your course we're gonna see a 70 pretty soon here. 78, 77. I feel it. I feel it coming on. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's part of the grind here. We're trying to get down to a single digit handicap. We're putting in a little bit of work. We're trying to get it down, but it's tough when you're, I don't know, it's tough when you kind of play best ball tournaments and stuff too. It's hard because you get to match like Bryson every now and again. So
right, yeah, you like to take a couple chances and hope for the best.
Yeah, take these outrageous lines and hit these big banana hooks and.
His poor caddy, my God, that guy takes a beating. But yeah, we'll see what Bryson can do today. He was out on the driving range in the pitch black last night, so I'm sure that was really productive for him. But he's a character nonetheless. That's all you can say about him. Stanley Cup playoffs. We're in the conference finals, and like you said, off the top, you predicted that the Montreal Canadiens would beat the Toronto Maple Leafs, just crushing the spirit of a lot of people around here. But you turned out to be right. It didn't look good at the beginning, down 3-1, but they rallied back. Some great goaltending, some solid play from the defense corps. They go on to sweep the Winnipeg Jets, and Winnipeg looked like the Seattle Supersonics in that series. And now we're tied 1-1 heading into tonight, Game 3, in front of a jam-packed 3,500 people crowd at the Bell Center that can fit probably 50 if you really wanted to. But they get the split in Vegas, which is huge for Montreal. What have you made of their play over the first two games, and what's the key for them winning tonight and moving forward?
Yeah, the Habs have been on a bit of a run here the last few weeks, and it's nice to see. I have no problem crushing people's spirits down in any part of the world that they cheer for the Leafs. I have no problems doing that. So it's been absolutely unreal to see the performance of Carey Price. I thought his performance in Game 1 and 2 of this series have been. I mean, Game 1 he got a couple more goals past him than he's used to, but Game 2 I thought he really bounced back very well, and some of the lateral movement saves that he had to make, where especially that one on Martinez, yeah, holy God, like Hill was sleeping and he made that save, and I jumped right up. I was like, holy shit, no way! Like I thought that was in. Like I was on the edge of my seat. So especially the other night too with Petrie and his bloodshot eyes. That was crazy in warm up. So it's it's pretty crazy. Like I don't know what it is about the Habs, but they're on a mission right now, and I like the way that Toffoli's been playing. Caulfield, Perry, Armia, Stahl. They're all kind of guys that are just getting it done by committee, and it's kind of wicked to see.
Yeah, Toffoli. I mentioned this yesterday in the pod, but I'll bring it up again. He had a great regular season, and it's been a narrative that all these great players that had really good regular seasons are golfing now. They're done. They're going to UFC events, or they're doing other things. Just a little shot there. He's got an 8-game point streak in the playoffs. He was on a 40 goal pace. Like there's still guys that have had really good regular seasons that are playing. He's one of them. Just because it's not
Yep.
McDavid or, Draisaitl, Matthews, McKinnon, whatever, he's doing it like you're saying. And the fourth line of Montreal, I can't say enough good things about them. Corey Perry, the guy had to practically beg for a job. And is he slow in the regular season? Yeah. But I'll tell you what, I would take him on my team any day of the week in the playoffs. And him with Stahl, Armia's got 5 goals in the playoffs. I mean, it's just what that line's doing. And they made the Reeves Carrier line look really bad in game 1. That line was hemmed a lot in their own zone. And for Vegas, that cannot be a matchup. The Reeves line cannot go up against that line because they can't physically. They're just getting outmatched by these 3, really tough guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Like that fourth line for Montreal, they play heavy, and especially for Perry and Stahl being on the back 9 of their careers, I would say. It's been something to watch because like Reeves is a younger man. A lot of the fourth line for Vegas are younger guys. So when I looked at this series as a whole, like I thought 1 through 4, I thought Vegas would run right over the the lines of the Habs, but it's been almost the opposite. It seems like it's more even strength, I think, than we were anticipating, I think.
Yeah. And for Vegas tonight, they need to come out and play a good first period because they haven't in the first 2 games. Expect game 2, they were out to lunch. Montreal was all over them. And I think for Montreal, it's more important for them to score the first goal than any team remaining. They need to play with that lead. And you got Price, who you're comfortable with that. But when they have to chase a game, it's tough, especially against Vegas. But Montreal needs to get on the board early. And for Vegas, their defense have been getting the points. They got 9 points by defense in their first 2 games. Pacioretty, Stone, tonight is the night for you to show up here. I think they've just been okay in the first 2 games. Hopefully Chandler Stevenson's back for them because then they can even out their lineup a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, their best forward over the first 2 games has been Alex Tuch. He just jumps off when you're watching a game and you just look and you say, okay, 89's on the ice again. You notice him every time because he's doing something. He's moving 110 miles an hour.
Yeah, no, another guy like Tuch that I always find, like you say, 89's always on the ice. Another guy that I always see on the ice is Marchessault.
Yep.
Seems like they're always running around. Like they play the game heavy too, right? So that's a big addition for the Golden Knights lineup because if you have those guys that play the game heavy and they can get in on the forecheck and lay some body on the defense, well, that's way more effective than having a guy like Marner that cuts top of the circles and looks for a backdoor pass or something. Like it makes a team so much more better because you have so much more momentum, and you have, I don't know, that's just my take on it, I think.
Yeah, I think what we're learning just the past couple of years, looking at Cup champs, you need to play heavy, but you can be fast too. You don't need just to be slow. Like you look at, these teams are heavy. Well, Tampa's not barbaric, but they have heavy guys. Like Kucherov is a skilled forward, but nobody can tell me he doesn't play heavy. That guy's got a ton of bite. And if you want to poke that bear, he'll lay you the fuck out. And that's, Brayden Point. I mean, we'll get into that series in a minute. But he owns the slot. Like he's shorter than me. And he's in the slot taking a beating, unlike some other players that I know wouldn't, that are the same height. That I won't name. It's just I think you need to be big. You clearly need to be big, but you can also, if you're a small guy, you can still play heavy. Holmstrom was not the biggest man, but he owned that crease in Detroit for his whole career. He was thick, don't get me wrong, but he was not, stature. He wasn't a huge guy. Point, I look at, Corey Perry, he's not a truck, He's not Ryan Reeves, but when he's an irritant when he's down there. And, Brendan Gallagher, he plays heavy. He's a small guy. And I don't know if you know this. I don't know if this happens up in Miramichi case, but as you know, I have a lot of family members that are Leafs fans. Yep. And I've heard the whole playoffs, I fucking hate Brendan Gallagher. And that tells me that Brendan Gallagher is a really good player because he's pissing you off to so much that you're like, okay, this guy's, he's living rent free in your brain because he's doing that. I just think he's done a lot for himself when it comes to this playoffs and what he brings to his overall game as a player.
Yeah, no, 100%. I don't know what it is with these small guys in the NHL, but I think that's what it is. Like Gallagher, he's an irritant. He's like Marchand. He just leaves that nasty taste in your mouth. But you can't tell me that if Gallagher somehow ended up on the market, in the free agent market, and he had no ties to Montreal, didn't want to come back, Toronto wouldn't go out and sign him. You would look like an idiot. Like you spent the whole time this guy was in Montreal, he's been nothing but he just shoving it in your face every year because he somehow ends up beating his. He somehow ends up putting an assist on the game winner. Doesn't matter. He always figures out a way to beat the Leafs somehow. So it just seems like that's how it goes, especially for, I could just imagine, especially for you living with old Darren Warren. I could just imagine Brendan Gallagher living rent free in his head.
Oh, he's living rent free. Yeah, he's got a sweet setup in DW's brain there. But yeah, even you look at like in 2006, the Edmonton Oilers had Chris Pronger. He played against the Anaheim Ducks in a 5-game series. It was chippy as hell. He's a dirty player. I love him to death. I know you do too. But nobody can tell me Chris Pronger is not a dirty hockey player. What did the Anaheim Ducks do the next year? They go trade for Chris Pronger because they know, let's go win a cup here. Like you say, if Brendan Gallagher is available tomorrow, if the Leafs could afford him, that's another story.
Yeah, that's another possibility.
They would 100% sign him. And if they didn't, I'd be like, okay, fan, you hate Brendan Gallagher. Well, you don't want him. Okay, you're not really a fan. You want to keep losing because that's that's the same recipe. But guys, Point, Lehkonen, another guy. He's not a big guy, and he gets to those areas, and he might not score every time, but it has an effect. Yanni Gourde, he scores a goal last night. Where? In the slot, because he's not afraid to go there. And I think it just takes that certain instinct to take your lumps, but guess what? It's going to work out in the long run because we're going to win a cup here. Yeah,
no, 100%. Last night watching that Islanders game and Islanders Lightning game, that's one thing I noticed about the small guys in front. Gourde scores a goal early in the first period, right? So, and then you just watch Brayden Point all night. I seen your Facebook status last night too. Just how he's a warrior in front. He owns the slot. So he's not a big guy by any means, and to be able to stand in the middle of the power play in the slot and play that rotation game and bang pucks home. All the credit to him. He's got 10 goals, 4 assists so far, and he seems to be leading the charge, so to speak, for the Lightning.
Yeah. He basically scored from his knees last night because he takes that shot and it finds a way in. And the biggest thing I was happy about that goal is that Barry Trotz, he's a smart coach. He did not challenge that because I was getting ready for it and I was pissed off and I was like, thank you, Barry. That was a good goal.
Yeah.
Held him in your goalie, like happened to Point the other night, and that stupid penalty, but nevertheless. Yeah.
That was awful.
Wasn't that terrible? My God.
Like, I don't really ever question very many things when I watch sports. Like, I'm just like, a dumb penalty, whatever. Ref made a bad call. But that one, I seriously, like, I had to grab the clicker. I rewinded it, and I'm like, he pushed him. Like, I just couldn't fathom that happened. And if I was a player, I would have just lost my mind.
I know. And after the game, he was so nice about it. He goes, "Oh, it's a tough decision." I'm like, "There's 4 of you on the ice. Like, you think somebody would get it right? Like, what are you doing?"
I couldn't imagine having to be Stamkos and listening to what the refs were saying. Like,
I know.
How did he get a cross-checking penalty? His head hit him. Like, I don't know.
I know me and you, maybe not now, but in our, I'll call it our prime, just in sports and in life in that time when we were younger, we both would have lost it. Going to the bench, I would have said, going to the box, I would have said some choice words. And if my dad was in the stands, I know he would have yelled something too. That probably wasn't the nicest thing in the world.
Oh yeah. There'd be some expletives for sure.
Yeah. But last night, you said two small guys score. I thought Tampa had a defensive clinic in the third period because the Islanders just couldn't get anything. I think Zajac had their best opportunity. But I look at the Islanders case, they had 12 shots last night by their third and fourth line. And I throw the Martin line as a fourth line, and I have Zajac, Pajot, and Palmieri as the other kind of third line.
Yeah.
The other two lines, they got to do more. Beauvillier was really good in the second round. I thought he was a star in that round. Barzal, the same thing. Maybe they need to think. I think they need to consider moving Barzal. I mean, I love Uncle Leo, but he's never going to score. Eberle, he's a good player, but maybe get Barzal out there with Brock Nelson. Brock Nelson's probably the most natural goal scorer on the team. It's a 2-1 game, but that's how Islanders like to play. Tampa beat them at their own game last night. I think it's time for a little bit of a pivot here for the New York Islanders.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing too with the Islanders that it's going to take, like, the third period last night was just phenomenal defensive hockey by the Lightning.
Yeah.
It was hard for guys like Barzal, Josh Bailey, Eberle to get anything going last night. And another guy that had a hard time last night, I thought, was Beauvillier. A lot of the times I seen him, he got the puck at the red line and he fires it in because he knows he's not going to get anywhere near the net with trying to drive it wide. So like the defense core with Tampa is so strong. You got Hedman, Sergachev, Cernak, Savard, McDonough, and Shattenkirk still there? No way.
No, they got Ruda. He's the other.
Ruda, yeah, that's what it is. I thought it was for some reason I just blanked there. But like, they're all so good, and it's definitely different to see someone else play the Islanders style game just to shut it down, and the Islanders kind of didn't have anything to counter with. They didn't know how to penetrate. So
yeah, crazy. I thought of this morning. 3 of the past 6 Tampa wins have been by a score of 2-1. They beat Carolina twice 2-1. They beat the Islanders last night 2-1. And it's just proving they can play any style you want. In the first round, they beat Florida 6-5. They win 2-1 twice. They, like, last night, a guy I love more and more watching him is Eric Chernak. He just eats people. Like, they get to him and he's just like, no, you're not going. Like, no pass, go. Sorry, Monopoly, go to jail. He just evaporates. He's such a big man and he's strong, but he can. And a guy who goes underrated is Ryan McDonough. He was the number 1 defenseman forever in New York. And for Tampa and Vegas, the prohibitive favorites of both series, to have really 2 number 1 defensemen in Shea Theodore and Pietrangelo and McDonough and Hedman on the same team. I mean, that's a hell of a luxury to have, at any time, let alone, Stanley Cup playoffs. Yeah,
no, for sure. And another, like, one of the guys that I find is so underrated for me on the Lightning is Sergachev.
Mm-hmm.
I find that he is so smooth. I find his skating is smooth. I find his first pass is really crisp, and he just seems to always be in the right place, and he seems to kind of get the job done. But no, for sure, like the Pietrangelo, he's been unreal so far. The semifinal, he's 2 goals in the second game, I think, right?
Yep.
So him and Theodore, I think it was Theodore fake slap shot.
That was a beautiful play. I don't know how the hell he did that. He fit in the slot, and I don't blame Carey Price because I would have bit too. And he just a beauty pass to Alec Martinez. And Alec Martinez is just another clutch guy. He scored some big goals in his career for LA, winning cups, and he continues to deliver. on the big stage for Vegas.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean too. Yeah, like that play was just phenomenal. Like the puck just walks right up to the ladies' tee. He walks in, fakes his big slap shot, and fires it over.
Mm-hmm.
Just like it's hard not to bite, right? So I've been real happy with the way that like Theodore and Petrangelo have been playing, and it's going to be something to see if Vegas and Tampa Bay end up in the finals, because
I think it'll be a hell of a series.
yeah, like that's I know we've mentioned it before about maybe them being in the finals, and I've mentioned it a couple of times this year, but that's that would be like the marquee matchup, I think, in my opinion. But you never know. The world might deserve a Habs Islanders final, so you never know.
Wouldn't that be
2021.
the COVID year? Yeah, wouldn't that be the COVID final? Islanders versus the Habs. Before we pivot, I have a little game of fact or fiction to wrap up the podcast. So I thought we'd have a little fun with that. Who do you got winning both series? You had a bold prediction about Montreal. I thought I'd give you the opportunity to a little prediction on both series in the NHL here.
You know, I'm gonna ride the Blaine Hanna wave, and I'm gonna stay loyal with the Habs.
Okay.
Think it's gonna go down to 7, but I got the Habs winning it.
Okay.
Price has just been too good for me right now, even compared to Fleury. It's just, I don't know. It's as a gambling man, I wouldn't want to bet on either series, but I'm gonna ride Price with this one, and I got Tampa Bay in 6 in the other.
6, yeah. I had Tampa in 6 too, but yeah, Montreal. I heard a lot of people it's going to be a sweep. And I'm like, no, it's not. I think I still got Vegas winning, but I have it going to 6. Montreal, they're too gritty. They're too determined to let Vegas walk over them. And they got the split already. That's all they could ask for. And we'll see what they can do tonight in front of that 3,500 jam-packed crowd at the Bell Center, which why isn't it more than that? But nevertheless.
Healthcare workers and mafiosos only.
Yeah, exactly. Only Italians and healthcare workers in there tonight. So yeah, before we wrap up, I thought we'd play a little fact or fiction. We played this one of the times you were on. We had a little fun with it. So I have a few questions. We'll bounce through it if you're game, and we'll have a little fun here.
Yep. No, fire away.
All right. Austin Matthews will win the Rocket Richard Trophy next season. Fact or fiction?
Next year?
Yeah.
We're going to go with, sorry for my good friend Seamus, but we're going to go with hard fiction on that one.
Yeah. Who are you sniffing? Maybe is it or an early candidate to win the Rocket next year?
We're going to see if, if Kucherov can't stay healthy, I think he might have a big year again.
Yeah. I love Pasternak. And he can sniff some goals, that guy. Ovi, I think, can have another big year in him too. I think a lot of people are starting to write him off. But I'll say fact, because he is arguably the best goal scorer in the game right now. And he can have another big regular season, and that'll be great for him. And then we'll get to the real season. We'll see what happens. He's Brayden Point scoring goals at his pace, but in the real season, he's got 16 goals in his last 19 playoff games. That's unheard of. So I will say fact, though. I think he's got the best wrist shot in the game right now. Not the best shot over. I think Pasternak's got the best, that clapper. Oof.
Yeah. One of the things I'll say is if Matthews and the Leafs have to play in that North Division again, if that's a thing, they go year 2 and just, kind of give the league a little breeze from playing those Canadian teams, then I think, it's very possible that he could put up 60, but.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if it's going to be anybody, it would be him because he scores at just such a quick pace.
Yeah.
He needs to have more hat tricks in there, though. He doesn't get a lot of 2-goal games, but seems to lack that killer instinct. No pun intended. All right. Nathan McKinnon will reach a Stanley Cup final before Connor McDavid. Fact or fiction?
I think that's a fact.
Yeah.
I even ride with the Oilers, and that's a fact.
Yeah, I think they should have made it this year. As you know,
Me too.
I don't know how the hell that they just got ran over by Vegas, but he's pissed. He's a competitor. He wants to win, and they're close. Grubauer, I don't think he was great in that series, but I'd bring him back. I mean, he was nominated for the Vezina this year. I mean, come on. But add a few more depth forwards. They lack that. Maybe get a centerman that doesn't get suspended every other playoff. That would probably help. But yeah, I'm gonna go fact as well. I think Edmonton's making good strides. Obviously, they got swept this year, but they got some cap room. They're gonna get James Neal off their books. Hopefully Koskinen off their books, and then they can.
And Smith.
Well, I think Smith might be coming back.
God almighty. I take Cam Talbot over him again.
He might return, but they'll have to figure out what to do with Nugent Hopkins because he's a UFA. But yeah, I'm riding with the Avalanche just over the Oilers in this case. And I think McKinnon's a better playoff player. Either Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or Fernando Tatis Jr. III will be the MVP this season.
Yeah, I would say that's.
They also get an opportunity to be, it's AL/NL. So one of them, either of them could win it.
Yeah, no, I'd say that's pretty fact. I would say they're both kind of taking the league by storm, if I were to say so myself, and just the way that that Vlad Jr. has been playing this year has just been phenomenal, I think. And if neither one of them were to win on either of their respective sides, then I think it would be a big shame, I think.
Yeah, if they keep playing the way that they are, they're tied for the league lead in home runs right now at 22. I'd be really surprised if I think they're both the faces of the league. Vladdy might win the Triple Crown, which would be incredible. But I think they're both going to win multiple. But I think it's a fact as well that I'll go with Vladdy. Maybe Acuna Jr. gets hot late.
Mm-hmm.
He wins it potentially, but I'd love to see them both win it. I think Vlad, Tatis Jr. the third, good chance to win. Fact or fiction, Justin Thomas will be in the final pairing this weekend.
Fiction. I'm a huge JT fan. I love him every goddamn tournament, but he doesn't have it in him this week. And to follow up on the previous fact or fiction, when you said that JT have 3 wins this year, that's starting to look a lot like fiction.
Right. Yeah. He missed the cut there at the PGA, and he's been spraying it a little bit. But I'm gonna go fiction. I do think he'll make the cut. I think he'll be mulling around, but I think John Rahm will be in the final group. I'd love to see a Rahm Koepka final group, or Rahm, even Rahm JT, like 2 studs at the end. I think that would be great. Francisco Molinari, Julio Stazen would be great too. I mean, that's a solid second pack that I would choose over anybody.
Yeah, I think if I were to have an ideal final group for Sunday, it would have to be Rahm, I think, Brooksy, and I'd like to see DJ.
Yeah.
Those 3 guys can sure swing it. So
yeah, that would be fun to see that, especially if they're all in the group, but they're not playing that great and they're all in the rough. That would make for a fun Sunday. A couple more. So Casey Ward, yourself, will watch at least one half of an NBA Finals game this year.
Wow. Well, damn. That's I will say that is pretty fiction. I would say I don't see that happening. I haven't watched them. Well, that's a lie. I have watched probably 6 minutes of basketball this year, and I'd say 35 seconds of it was on Instagram. So it's NBA is not really for me. It's not something that I'm good at. I can't fucking play basketball at all. So it's not something I really take an interest to, except I used to school Seamus in 21 in New York in his driveway. So
Yeah, who didn't?
Suck it.
Yeah, who didn't school him? He thought he was really good, but he kind of struggled.
Thought he was like Larry Bird.
Yeah, I remember I beat him one time at 21. He kind of took that hard because I can't shoot worth a lick, and I think that still hurts his ego to this day that I defeated him. But I'll never let him forget it either.
Neither will I.
I'm gonna say it screams fiction to me because I know you're not the biggest NBA guy. You don't really like the flopping aspect. I'm gonna go fact because maybe one night you're just like hockey's over. It's game 4 NBA Finals. You're like, some buddies are watching this game. Maybe I'll throw some cheddar on it. And I got, maybe Kevin Durant's doing his thing. You're like, okay, let's see what's going on here. And before you know it, you're like, holy shit, it's halftime. And then, it's just a fact. So I'm going to ride with the fact that just pure boredom, and maybe some cheddar on the game, and you'll tune into at least a half of an NBA Finals game.
Yeah, well, when you put it like that, I'm starting to kind of lean towards the fact side myself. I might have to flip that answer. Yeah, it'll definitely be between the NBA Finals and following the Breaking Bad that you and Seamus have been doing the last couple of weeks. So that's definitely what's been in the docket.
Last one. Our friend, the aforementioned Seamus Fillmore. I can't even say, oh, this is funny. Will fluff it in the rough like Patrick Reed this summer at St. Ignace.
Yeah, that's 100%. That's 100% fact. We're working on trying to get out for a round. Me and Seamus, I'm trying to figure out, where we're gonna get out. I don't know if I'm gonna have to head down to his neck of the woods and head down to St. John, or if we're gonna meet in the middle and go to Iggy or Bucktouche. But we're also trying to figure out. I haven't really mentioned this to him, but we're gonna try and figure out a stroke game here. Try and figure out, make it interesting. Maybe $1 or $2 a hole. Whatever Seamus can afford.
Yeah, well, maybe I might have to caddy that round.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we'll have to get a camera guy to come out and record some of these shots, and we'll put it up the first annual To the Point Sandbagger.
Yeah, we might. Yeah, that's definitely something we got to do. Especially I'm close. One camera guy is just going to be following Seamus's every step, and if I see it go in the rough, the camera guy is instructed, you're going in the rough with him, and if there's any fluffing, we gotta know, and it's going to be documented, and we're going to talk about it.
If Seamus hits one, left and it goes into the sticks, I want people checking his pockets before he's going in there.
Yeah.
How many is he carrying in? Is he carrying 3 or 4?
Right.
Chuck him out all these different places just to make sure he's got a different look.
Right. We're talking about us 3 right now. Imagine how great this would be if it was DeChambeau, Brooks, and Patrick Reed today. But no, they got DeChambeau playing with Hideki and some amateur. We can't even pronounce his last name, for Christ's sake. Oh my God. But some people just can't have nice things in life, Casey, and apparently it's us not being able to watch these guys do it. But appreciate you hopping on this morning, man. It's always fun. Always some good laughs with you, and enjoy the golf this weekend, the hockey, and best of luck with the job and everything going forward. I'm sure we'll see each other soon.
Right on. Thanks, man. Appreciate jumping on. Appreciate it. Good to talk about sports, and lots of sports in the docket for the weekend. So
absolutely. Yeah. Thanks again to Casey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the golf, enjoy the sports, and we'll talk soon.